My promise to you is that I will never give up on exposing who is behind the biggest political crime in American history, the Hillary Clinton campaign spying on President Trump before and even during his time in office. The Durham filing is credible and it is clear, yet Hillary Clinton has the audacity today, in her first response to this news about her campaign spying, to call it, quote, a desperate fake scandal, spun up to distract from Trump's real scandal, she says. This is weak and outright ignorant, this response from her. She relies on you and the media to be gullible. But let's review what else Hillary tweeted about. Check out this one, just days before the election in 2016. It reads, computer scientists have apparently uncovered a covert server linking Trump Organization to a Russian bank. What she doesn't reveal in that tweet is those computer scientists, as she calls them, were being paid by her campaign, and they had illegal access to servers in Trump Tower and the president's Trump's private address in New York. That so-called covert link to the Russian bank, turns out there is no evidence at all that it existed. In fact, numerous investigations from John Durham to Robert Mueller confirmed that. Yet look who is quoted in Hillary's tweet from way back when. None other than Jake Sullivan, Hillary's then senior policy advisor. He boldly declares this could be the most direct link yet between Trump and Moscow. This secret hotline may be the key to unlocking the mystery of Trump's ties to Russia. This liar that you see on your screen there is now Joe Biden's national security advisor. Jake Sullivan knew this Trump-Russia story was a hoax. My firm belief is he knew the campaign had been paying those, quote, computer technicians to illegally spy on Donald Trump. And now he holds one of the most important intelligence positions with the highest security clearances in America.
This makes Watergate look like a parking citation. They spied and they used money from opposition research to go ahead and spy on a sitting president at his White House and his candidate.
The ability of a campaign to go in and scrape data from servers on your opponent is communist China type stuff.
Hillary must be interviewed by John Durham, and we need to hear directly what she knew and when she knew it.
Well, John Durham ought to call Hillary Clinton in. George Papadopoulos there is spot on. It is widely believed, by the way, folks, that Jake Sullivan is the, quote, foreign policy advisor named in the indictment of Hillary Clinton's lawyer, Michael Sussman. That indictment accuses Sussman of lying to the FBI, and it most certainly suggests that, at the very least, Jake Sullivan was in direct contact with Sussman, emailing him about the Trump-Russian bank bogus connection. Of course, Jake Sullivan enlisted the help then of a willing and, again, very gullible media. Sullivan made his media rounds to offer up this fake claim.
What we learned during the campaign was that very serious computer science experts, people who work closely with the United States government, had uncovered this secret hotline between the Alfa Bank, the Russian bank, and the Trump Organization. Given how serious these computer scientists were, they weren't just making up crackpot theories.
Do you see what he's doing? He's making it seem as if this was obtained from U.S. intelligence agents. It was not. Those very serious computer analysts paid for again by the Hillary Clinton campaign, just like they paid for that Steele dossier that was used for all those warrants to go after Trump and his allies. See, Jake Sullivan literally lied when he went public claiming President Trump had a, quote, hotline to the Kremlin. And now this is the man who is at the top of the national security advisors, of all of them. He is the national security advisor to the President of the United States. It looked like he is now stone cold busted, which explains why 5 days after Durham revealed Hillary's campaign was spying on a sitting president, the White House dodges all questions on the issue.
That's something I can't speak to from this podium, so I refer you to the Department of Justice.
Is what was described in that report, monitoring internet traffic, is that spying?
Again, I can't speak to that report. I refer you to the Department.
Police, Jake Sullivan, in my opinion, needs to be removed from office right now. And if it is proven that he knew about the spying on candidate Trump and later President Trump, he too needs to go to prison for the far-reaching conspiracy to overthrow a sitting president through lies and the manufacture of bogus evidence.